Every morning, billions of people open their eyes, but very few truly wake up. Most rise only to carry yesterday into today. They repeat the same thoughts, the same habits, the same emotions, and then wonder why their life feels stuck, predictable, and heavy. But right now, at this exact moment, you have a choice: to break free from that cycle or to remain trapped in it. This is the invitation life gives you each morning, and most people decline it without even knowing. When you open your eyes, the world offers you something priceless: a reset button. Not a symbolic one, but a real chance to begin again. Yet instead of pressing it, most people cling to who they were yesterday. They wake up, but they don't arrive. They get out of bed, but they don't step into the present. And so their days repeat like copies of a copy. If you want abundance, not only in wealth, but in clarity, peace, energy, and opportunities, you must delete the outdated version of yourself that no longer serves you. Not tomorrow, not next week, now, this very breath. The moment you stop identifying with your history, you break the chain that forces you to repeat it. Think about it. Most people drag their past like a heavy shadow. They don't realize that shadow only exists because they keep looking back. Your story may explain where you've been, but it does not define who you are. You are not your history. Tear the label off. Step into the only place where transformation is possible: this moment. If you want to invite abundance, you must first create space for it. And that space cannot exist while you're still crowded with yesterday's noise. Waking up is not just biology. It is a spiritual and energetic event. But most people miss it. They rise only to resume their sleep with open eyes. So don't just wake up. Arrive. Arrive into your breath. Arrive into your awareness. Arrive fully before the chaos of the day begins pulling you in 1,000 directions. Instead of reaching for your phone, reach for your center. Notice what you are feeling. Notice the thoughts already swirling. Notice the resistance in your body. That small pause in those first few minutes of the day has the power to delete layers of unconscious programming that would otherwise control your entire day. The old self reacts to everything instantly, but reaction is the enemy of abundance. Reaction means giving your power away to circumstances. Observation means reclaiming it. So watch your thoughts like you'd watch cars passing on a road. Let them move. Don't chase. Don't fight. Just watch. When you react, you become a puppet of yesterday's self. When you respond from stillness, you step into mastery. The old self feeds on drama, on urgency, on endless motion. The new self waits, observes, and chooses wisely. That distance from your thoughts is not escape. It is freedom. Silence is the forgotten friend of abundance. Most people fill their mornings with noise because silence forces them to meet themselves. But your first minutes after waking are sacred. They shape everything that follows. Sit with silence. No music, no speeches, no goals, just stillness. In that space, your mind reorganizes itself. Inner clutter dissolves. And when silence speaks first, every action you take carries more clarity, more intention, more alignment. Abundance begins exactly where resistance ends, and silence is the door through which resistance walks out. One of the greatest illusions blocking abundance is the idea that the world is broken. The world is not broken. Your perception is clouded. What you see outside is only a projection of the chaos inside. If you constantly notice problems, conflict, and negativity, it's a signal to clean your inner lens. Gratitude is the cloth that clears that lens. But real gratitude is not repeating thank you mindlessly. It is the awareness that this breath, this life, this exact moment is a gift you did nothing to earn. Gratitude is not an act. It is a perspective. When you live in gratitude, the universe mirrors that frequency and gives you more to be grateful for. Most people think waking up is the body's shift from sleep to movement. But true awakening is not about standing up from your bed. It's about arriving, fully arriving into this moment. Think about it. Billions wake up every morning, but very few are awake throughout their day. They open their eyes, but their mind is still on autopilot. They rise to alarms, to obligations, to notifications, but not to awareness. They don't step into life, they just resume it. True awakening is becoming conscious of now. It is the awareness of your breath moving in and out, the silence that surrounds you before the noise begins, the stillness inside you before the world demands your energy. Ask yourself, when you wake up tomorrow, will you actually arrive into the moment, or will you simply continue yesterday's noise? The old self reaches for the phone, checks messages, scrolls endlessly, and immediately hands the first minutes of the day to everyone else. The new self pauses. It checks inward. What is the quality of your thoughts right now? What is the feeling in your chest? What are you still carrying from yesterday that no longer needs to follow you into today? That short pause is not wasted time. It's the most important investment of your day. Most people don't realize how quickly they fall back into emotional patterns the second they wake up. Frustrations, fears, and old loops come rushing in, and before they know it, the day is already decided for them. But change doesn't come from repeating the same cycles with a different mood. Real change begins the moment you see yourself clearly and refuse to act unconsciously. Observation is the first act of freedom. When you take even 2 minutes in the morning to watch your mind, not judge it, not fight it, just watch, you begin to interrupt the automatic programs of your old self. This is how transformation begins. Not with massive external changes, but with a small, subtle ritual of presence each morning. You don't need incense, mantras, or elaborate practices. You only need to sit, to breathe, to notice. Feel your breath. Listen to the world waking up around you. Sense the energy of the new day like a blank canvas. This is the moment where you decide not to paint the same picture again. This is the moment where routine ends and awareness begins. When you approach your morning this way, you stop living as a servant to your impulses. You stop reacting to every passing thought, every push of emotion, every habit from yesterday. You become the witness. And from witnessing, you become the creator. The old self needs instant stimulation, constant movement, noise to avoid stillness. But the awakened self thrives in stillness, because in that stillness, inspiration is born, clarity is born, abundance begins to flow. When your very first act of the day is awareness, your entire day reflects that awareness. And when you truly arrive into the morning, something shifts. Expectation falls away. You don't need to predict how the day will unfold. You don't need to control every outcome. You are simply rooted in presence, and presence expands you. You walk into your day not with pressure, but with power. You notice more. You feel more. You attract more. Not because you are chasing abundance, but because you are aligned with it. Abundance always finds the one who is not distracted from their own center. So tomorrow morning, before you do anything else, remember this. Don't just wake up. Arrive. Don't just leave your bed. Rise into awareness. That single shift dismantles the patterns of your old self and creates space for the new. You are not here to repeat life. You are here to recreate it every single morning. And the more fully you arrive each day, the more life arrives fully to meet you. The mind is like a river. Thoughts, emotions, and memories flow constantly, carrying you with them if you're not careful. Most people are swept away in that current. The moment they wake up, a single thought enters, and suddenly, they're lost in it. They remember something painful from yesterday, and their mood sinks. They imagine a stressful conversation, and anxiety rises. Without even realizing it, they are no longer here. They are living in projections. This is the old self, habitual, compulsive, unaware. To step into the new self, you must stop being the puppet of your mind and become its observer. Before your feet even touch the floor in the morning, pause. Watch your thoughts. Don't fight them. Don't chase them. Simply watch. Imagine clouds drifting across a sky. They come, they go. None of them define the sky itself. Your thoughts work the same way. You don't need to grab them. You don't need to believe every single one. That space between you and your thoughts is the beginning of freedom. That gap is where transformation begins. Even a few seconds of this practice change everything, because you stop reacting. You stop letting the past or the fear of the future dictate your energy. Most people spend their lives in reactivity. They do what they've always done. They think what they've always thought. They live as if on repeat, and then wonder why nothing changes. But the moment you observe instead of react, you break the cycle. You become conscious. And in consciousness, there is power. Reacting is the language of the old self. It comes from pain, insecurity, fear, and ego. Responding is the language of the new self. It comes from clarity, calm, and stillness. The one who reacts is predictable and easily manipulated. The one who responds is steady, magnetic, and powerful. People can feel the difference. More importantly, you can feel it within yourself. You no longer need to explain or prove. You simply remain aware. And from that awareness, the right action reveals itself. This is not about suppressing emotions or pretending to be calm. It's about seeing emotions fully without being consumed by them. You can feel anger without becoming anger. You can sense fear without being ruled by fear. That level of awareness rewrites your old self. It dissolves destructive patterns not through force, but through light. When something is seen clearly, it loses its control over you. Clarity itself becomes the healing. You don't need to run away from the world or lock yourself in silence for hours. You only need to build the habit of observation. Every morning, before the world takes your energy, give that energy to yourself. Sit for 1 minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever you can. Close your eyes. Breathe. Watch. Let the chatter come. Let the feelings pass. Do nothing. Be nothing. Simply see. Over time, that seer within you becomes stronger than the noise. And eventually, observation becomes your natural state. You begin to notice you no longer react the same way. You pause before speaking. You feel before deciding. You see your triggers without falling into them. This is not weakness, this is mastery. When you reach this state, you have already begun deleting the old self. Not by pretending, not by forcing, but by being deeply aware of who you are and choosing presence moment by moment. In that presence, abundance flows naturally. You don't have to chase it. You don't have to force it. You simply stop blocking it with the weight of unconscious reactions. Observation is the bridge. It carries you from survival to awareness, from chaos to clarity, from lack to abundance. And it all begins in those first few minutes of the day, when you decide not to drown in your thoughts, but to stand on the shore and watch the river flow. Most people begin their day with noise. The moment their eyes open, they reach for the phone, scroll through messages, check the news, or start conversations before they even take a conscious breath. Without realizing it, they drag this disturbance into their morning, and the entire day inherits that vibration. They believe movement means progress. They confuse sound with productivity. They mistake busyness for success. But true power begins in silence. Silence is not the absence of sound. It is the presence of awareness. It is the space before words, before decisions, before action. And in that space lies a clarity that noise can never give you. This is why your first few minutes are sacred. They are not ordinary. They shape the frequency of your entire day. If the first voice you hear is silence, your mind begins in alignment. But if the first voice you hear is chaos, then chaos rules you until nightfall. Sitting in silence is not about escaping life. It is about meeting yourself before the world meets you. Most people are afraid of silence because it reveals the things they've been avoiding, the thoughts they suppress, the emotions they deny, the truths they fear. But what you avoid gains power over you. Silence dissolves that power, not by hiding it, but by showing you what is real. In the stillness of the morning, thoughts slow down. Emotions soften. Pressure loses its grip. You don't achieve this by doing more, but by allowing space. Silence doesn't fill you. It clears you. It empties the clutter so truth can rise. When silence speaks first, everything you do afterward becomes more intentional, more aligned. Your words carry weight. Your actions hold meaning. You are not rushing. You are guided. There is a forgotten intelligence in silence, a wisdom deeper than any book, video, or speech could ever teach. It does not add to you. It reveals you. The first voice you hear in the morning should not be the world's. It should be your own. The self that sits beyond words. The awareness that notices without judgment. The stillness that doesn't need proof or permission. Without silence, you are just piling more noise onto an already cluttered mind. But with silence, even a single insight can redirect your entire life. The mind becomes like still water, able to reflect truth without distortion. And this is not laziness. This is not wasting time. This is returning to your natural state, the place where energy aligns with life instead of fighting it. From silence, abundance flows naturally, because when you are still, you notice what matters. You see which thoughts are worth following, which emotions need healing, and which dreams deserve action. Silence doesn't remove life's chaos, but it allows you to move through it without becoming it. At first, sitting in silence feels strange. The world rushes while you pause. But remember, the greatest transformations always begin in the invisible. Just a few minutes each morning can create a ripple that shapes your entire day. You will speak with more purpose, act with more clarity, live with more intention. You will stop chasing abundance and begin radiating it. People will notice something different in your presence, not because of what you say, but because of what you no longer need to say. The old self thrived on noise, constant stimulation, endless distraction. But in silence, that self cannot survive. What rises instead is a version of you that is grounded, aware, deeply connected. This new self does not crave approval. It carries its own calm. It attracts abundance not by chasing, but by aligning. So tomorrow morning, Before you let the world in, let silence in. Listen to its quiet language, and you'll discover that in saying nothing, it tells you everything you need to know. Most people believe that if the world changed, if people behaved differently, if circumstances became easier, then finally, they could feel peace. This illusion keeps them trapped. They blame, they complain, they fight shadows, never realizing that what they see outside is only a mirror of what exists inside. The truth is simple. The world is not broken. Your perception is clouded. Every experience you have is filtered through an inner lens shaped by your past, your wounds, your fears, and your beliefs. If your lens is dirty, you cannot see clearly. You misinterpret, you overreact, you create stories that are not real. Two people can face the same situation and respond in completely different ways. Not because the world is different, but because their lenses are. One sees threat, the other sees opportunity. One finds betrayal, the other finds growth. The difference is not out there. The difference is within. The old self wants you to believe that your suffering is caused by the world, that the reason you feel stuck is because of others, because of unfairness, because of fate. But the truth is, suffering is often created by how you interpret what happens. Trying to fix the world without fixing your perception is like trying to clean a mirror by wiping the reflection. You can scream, argue, protest, and demand. But if your lens is still clouded, nothing changes. This doesn't mean the world has no problems. It means your power to respond wisely comes only from clarity. When your mind is full of judgment, every challenge becomes a threat. But when your mind is clear, the same challenge becomes direction. Your judgments are not insights. They are echoes of your past pain. Every time you say, "People are always like this," or "Nothing ever works out," you are not speaking truth. You are speaking from a wound. That wound becomes the old self's survival strategy. It convinces you that the problem is always outside, so you never look within. But the moment you begin to question those beliefs, the lens shifts. You start to see people not as enemies, but as mirrors. You stop taking situations so personally. You realize that life is not attacking you. It is showing you. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. If your heart is closed, abundance cannot enter. If your mind is filled with resistance, the outer world will mirror that resistance. But when you clean your lens, the entire world begins to look different. Beauty appears where you once saw boredom. Calm emerges in places that once triggered anxiety. It is not the world that changed. It is the way you see it. This practice of clarity is not a one-time event. It is daily work. Every morning, you must wipe the lens clean through awareness, stillness, and gratitude. Ask yourself, am I seeing clearly, or am I projecting my own pain? This requires honesty. It requires humility. It requires letting go of the identity that feeds on being the victim. But in that letting go, you reclaim power. The power to see life as it is, not as your wounds imagine it to be. The power to meet challenges with wisdom, not with fear. The power to walk through the same world, but with different eyes. When you clean the lens, a new self begins to emerge. A self that is calm instead of reactive. A self that is open instead of bitter. A self that no longer waits for the world to change, but changes how it meets the world. And this is how abundance finds you. Not when everything outside is perfect, but when your perception becomes clear enough to notice the perfection that was always there. Gratitude is often misunderstood. Most people treat it as a polite phrase, a shallow thank you said out of habit. But true gratitude runs much deeper. It is not an empty ritual. It is a shift in perspective, a reorientation of the mind. Gratitude is not just about acknowledging the good when things go your way. It is about realizing that life itself owes you nothing, and yet it gives you everything: breath, awareness, lessons, love, opportunities, even the struggles that carve you into who you are becoming. When you see through this lens, gratitude stops being something you practice. It becomes who you are. Real gratitude interrupts the endless cycle of lack. It stops the mind from obsessing over what is missing and brings it back to what is present. It reminds you that the breath moving through you right now is not guaranteed. That the sunrise, the food on your table, the people in your life, the lessons you've learned, all of it is a gift. Most people wake up and immediately think of what they don't have: the money that's not enough, the opportunities that haven't come, the approval they haven't received. This is the vibration of scarcity, and it creates more scarcity. But when you wake up and start with gratitude, you tune into a different frequency, the frequency of receiving. Gratitude is not pretending that everything is perfect. It is choosing to notice what is already working, what is already here, what is already possible. From that energy, you stop chasing. You start aligning. You stop forcing. You start allowing. Opportunities that were invisible begin to reveal themselves. Not because the world suddenly changed, but because you cleared the fog that blinded you to them. Gratitude humbles the ego. It dissolves the illusion that life owes you something because you've worked hard or suffered enough. It reminds you that the sun rises without your effort, that your heart beats without your command, that thousands of miracles happen every day without your permission. And when you live in that awareness, the weight of struggle begins to lift. You still act. You still move forward. But not from desperation, from inspiration, from fullness. Gratitude also has the power to heal. It allows you to forgive. It helps you release. It teaches you acceptance. When you are grateful, even for your painful lessons, you stop seeing yourself as a victim. You realize that life has been shaping you, not punishing you. That every scar holds meaning, and meaning is what your heart longs for. When you find meaning in your past, you stop fearing your future. You begin to walk with peace, knowing nothing has been wasted. The old self thrives on complaints. It needs something to be unhappy about in order to feel alive. But gratitude dissolves that identity. It removes the need to cling to struggle as your story, and what rises in its place is a self that radiates calm, a self that naturally attracts abundance because it is already vibrating with appreciation. Gratitude does not make you magnetic by magic. It makes you magnetic by alignment. You don't need special conditions to practice gratitude. You don't need to wait for more money, more love, or more success. You only need awareness. Every morning, before your mind lists what you lack, train it to notice what you have. The more consistently you practice this, the lighter life feels, the brighter it becomes, the more welcoming it seems. Gratitude shifts you from resisting life to receiving it, and when you receive without resistance, abundance flows in ways you never imagined. There are things in life we try hard to ignore, emotions we push down, memories we bury, patterns we pretend are not there. We distract ourselves, numb ourselves, run from ourselves, hoping that if we don't look, the discomfort will disappear. But what you resist does not vanish. It hides, it waits, and the more you avoid it, the more power it gains over you. This is why life keeps repeating itself. The same kind of relationships, the same kind of arguments, the same inner struggles. They come back again and again, not to punish you, but to wake you up. Resistance creates repetition. The old self survives through avoidance. It whispers, "Don't look there. Don't feel that. Don't face this." But the new self is born through acceptance. You cannot delete what you refuse to see. You cannot heal what you refuse to feel. The pain itself is rarely the real problem. It is the fear of feeling it that makes it unbearable. Most of your suffering is not from the wound itself, but from resisting it. When you finally turn to face what you've been running from, you begin to reclaim your power. You realize that what seemed unbearable is not stronger than you, that your fear of the emotion was heavier than the emotion itself. Sit with your discomfort. Let it speak. Let it show you what has been buried beneath the noise. This is not weakness. This is courage. Real courage is not pretending everything is fine. It is being willing to feel what is real. Resistance often comes with judgment. You label your feelings as wrong, shameful, bad. You tell yourself, "I shouldn't feel this way." And so you suppress. You hide your anger. You silence your grief. You bury your confusion. But feelings are not right or wrong. They are messengers. When you stop judging them and begin listening, they soften, they reveal, they release. This practice does not mean you will never feel pain again. It means pain will no longer control you. It means the old wounds lose their grip. It means you stop acting from fear and begin acting from wisdom. Facing discomfort is not a one-time event. It is a practice. Each time the old pattern rises again, you meet it with more presence. You observe it like an old visitor. You no longer fear it. You no longer fight it. You simply see it. And in that calm seeing, the energy begins to dissolve. As long as you resist, the pattern will follow you. Through people, through places, through circumstances. But the moment you face it with full awareness, the cycle breaks. This is how you free yourself from the past. Not by forgetting it, not by erasing it, but by integrating it. Healing is not about becoming someone new. It is about releasing what you are not. The weight you've been carrying is not your essence. It is an accumulation of old emotions, inherited beliefs, unfinished stories. It may not be your fault that you carry it, but it is your responsibility to let it go. And that begins with the courage to stop running. When you face what you resist, you discover a new kind of freedom. You learn that every feeling has a message, and once received, it loses its need to repeat. You learn that what once defined you now teaches you. This is how transformation happens, not by avoiding discomfort, but by walking straight through it with awareness. The old self hides. The new self looks. The old self fears. The new self feels. The old self resists. The new self releases. And in that release, abundance has space to enter. Your environment is not separate from you. It is a reflection of you. The space you live in, the people you surround yourself with, the habits you repeat daily, all of these mirror your inner state. If your surroundings are messy, draining, or chaotic, it often signals that your inner world is unsettled. Most people overlook this truth. They blame external factors for how they feel, never realizing that the outer chaos is simply an echo of their inner disorder. This is not about guilt or shame. It is about awareness. When you look around and see clutter, noise, or heaviness, recognize it as a silent message. Your outer life is always whispering the state of your inner life. Most people want peace, but they live in noise. They want clarity, but their space is crowded. They want growth, but they surround themselves with people and routines that keep them small. What you keep around you speaks louder than your words. If you live in disorder, it is harder to think clearly, to act decisively, or to feel inspired. Over time, the environment becomes the atmosphere you breathe, the backdrop of your thoughts, the stage for your choices. Changing your environment is not just about cleaning your room or organizing your desk. It is a declaration, a sacred act, a signal to yourself and to the universe that you are ready for more. When you clear your space, you tell yourself, I am worthy of clarity. I am ready for ease. When you let go of what no longer serves you, you practice release. When you choose who and what belongs in your space, you step into your power. This is not superficial. This is energetic alignment. Every object you own carries energy. Every corner of your space holds memory. Ask yourself, does my environment support the person I am becoming, or does it keep me anchored to the person I was? Are your walls filled with reminders of your limitations or symbols of your growth? Do the people around you inspire you or drain you? Do your daily habits elevate your future or recycle your past? These questions are not meant to create pressure. They are invitations to honesty. Because once your environment aligns with your intention, it begins to nurture your new self. Abundance does not settle in chaos, not because it refuses to, but because there is no room for it. A clear space welcomes clear opportunities. A supportive circle fuels your vision instead of exhausting it. Your environment either expands you or shrinks you. It either empowers your evolution or chains you to repetition. If you want new outcomes, begin with your immediate world. Start small. Remove one object that no longer reflects who you are. Spend a few minutes creating order in the space you wake up in. Set boundaries with one person who drains your energy. Notice how your body feels in different rooms, with different people, during different routines. Each small shift creates momentum. As you create clarity outside, clarity begins to rise within. You feel lighter, you feel focused, you feel aligned. Distractions fade, noise quiets down, and in that space, inspiration enters. When your environment supports your highest self, you no longer need to force abundance. It arrives naturally because you have made space for it. You have built a home not just of walls and furniture, but of energy and intention. And when you live in that alignment, life reflects it back to you with precision. You don't chase abundance. It finds you. Because you are no longer sending mixed signals. You are clear. You are ready. And the universe always responds to clarity. Transformation is not always loud. It doesn't need dramatic events, chaos, or collapse. True transformation begins quietly, in the small choices you make every single morning. Discipline is the ability to say yes to what matters most and no to what distracts you. It is not the enemy of freedom. It is the path to freedom. Because without discipline, you are a slave to your impulses. But with discipline, you become the master of your direction. The old self avoids discipline because it seeks comfort. It wants distraction, entertainment, pleasure right now, even if the cost is regret later. It whispers, skip the workout, put off the project, avoid the hard conversation, and every time you listen, you strengthen the identity that keeps you stuck. The world doesn't respond to your potential. It responds to the energy you embody now. And that means you must choose daily renewal. To die daily does not mean destruction. It means liberation. It means looking at the excuses that kept you small and saying, I am done with these. It means looking at your fears and saying, I no longer bow to you. And it doesn't happen in one grand gesture. Discipline is built in the small, daily choices: what you eat, how you speak, the habits you repeat. Every choice either builds your future or delays it. Motivation is temporary. Emotion fades. But discipline remains. Discipline is commitment in action. It does not ask if you feel like it. It asks if you are aligned with who you are becoming. You will stumble. You will fall. That's inevitable. But discipline is what helps you rise faster. It is not about perfection. It is about consistency. Each time you choose the harder yes instead of the easier no, you strengthen the new self. This is rebirth. Not some distant spiritual idea, but a practical truth. Rebirth happens when you stop letting old thoughts control you, when you choose presence over habit, truth over story, action over hesitation. There will be days when discipline feels lonely. Everyone else may seem to be relaxing, indulging, escaping, while you are building, growing, aligning. In those moments, remember, you are not sacrificing your life, you are investing in it. Discipline is the bridge between intention and manifestation. Without it, dreams remain ideas. With it, dreams become reality. Each time you wake up early, when it would be easier to stay in bed, each time you choose focus over distraction, each time you act from purpose instead of impulse, you are proving to yourself who you are. The universe does not respond to repetition. It responds to renewal. The old self will call discipline a prison. But the truth is, the lack of discipline is the real prison. It traps you in cycles of regret and limitation. Discipline sets you free by giving your energy direction, and that being cannot be ignored. That vibration calls abundance because it is free of resistance. You are not here to repeat life. You are here to recreate it, to make each morning a fresh page, to remember that yesterday does not define today unless you let it. So let discipline not be a cage, but a compass. A steady reminder that you are walking toward your vision, even when it feels difficult, even when no one else sees it. Because when you walk with discipline, you are not just moving through time. You are shaping it. You are preparing the ground for abundance to grow. Because each sunrise is not just the beginning of a day. It is the opportunity to begin a new life. Letting go is one of the hardest things for the human mind. We cling to our identities, our stories, our wounds, because they feel familiar. And familiarity feels safe, even when it hurts. The old self thrives on this. It survives by convincing you that without your baggage, you will be lost. But the truth is the opposite. The moment you release, you discover that what you were holding was never holding you. It was only weighing you down. Most people believe freedom is something they will find outside, in money, in recognition, in success. But true freedom begins with release. Release is the art of trusting life enough to let go of what no longer serves you. Release is looking at your patterns, your excuses, your limiting beliefs, and deciding they don't get to shape another day. This is not weakness. This is strength, because it takes more courage to let go than to cling. Anyone can hold on. Few dare to release. The old self will try to scare you. It will whisper, "If you let go of this, who will you be?" But that is exactly the point. You are not meant to keep replaying the same role. You are meant to evolve into the next version of yourself. And this evolution does not require a dramatic moment. It can happen quietly, in the morning, with a single decision. I no longer carry this into today. Release is not forgetting. Release is integrating. It is saying, "This shaped me, but it no longer defines me. I honor it, and now I set it down." When you practice release daily, you make room for abundance. Because abundance cannot land in a clenched fist. It requires open hands, open heart, open awareness. Think about the areas of your life that feel heavy, the relationships, habits, or thoughts that drain you. Ask yourself, what am I holding on to that no longer holds value? It might be resentment. It might be self-doubt. It might be a version of yourself that no longer exists. Whatever it is, notice the weight. Feel the burden. And then imagine what your life would feel like without it. Release is not about throwing away your past. It is about walking into your future without chains. The universe does not reward those who cling. It rewards those who are willing to renew. When you release, you send a signal. I am ready. I am not trapped in who I was. I am available for who I can be. And abundance responds. Releasing is not always comfortable. At first, it feels like losing. But soon you realize you are not losing anything essential. You are only losing illusions. And illusions are heavy. What remains after release is lighter, clearer, stronger. The old self is built on accumulation. More stories, more labels, more protection. The new self is built on release. Less clutter, less resistance, more space. Space is the birthplace of abundance. So, each morning, remind yourself, you don't have to carry yesterday's weight into today. You don't have to replay old roles. You don't have to keep being the person your past convinced you to be. Release, breathe, begin again. This is not the end of you. This is the unveiling of you. Life does not respond to what you want. It responds to what you are. This is why so many people feel frustrated. They set goals, write affirmations, repeat mantras, yet nothing changes. Why? Because wanting is not the same as being. You can want abundance while still vibrating in lack. You can want peace while still carrying chaos. You can want love while still clinging to fear. The universe doesn't answer your words. It mirrors your state. If you say you want success, but keep choosing distraction, you are not aligned with success. If you say you want clarity, but live in clutter, you are not aligned with clarity. If you say you want freedom, but stay attached to old chains, you are not aligned with freedom. Discipline, awareness, release. These are not restrictions. They are alignments. They shape you into someone who can receive without resistance. This is why the morning is so important. Each sunrise is a reset button, a chance to align who you are with what you desire. If you wake up and step directly into your old patterns, you send the same signal again. I am the old self, and life will mirror it back. But if you wake up, breathe, observe, sit in silence, release, and choose presence, you send a new signal. You declare, I am ready. And life mirrors that readiness. The old self is inconsistent. It wants without embodying. It asks without aligning. It complains without changing. The new self understands that energy is communication. Every thought, every word, every action is a message to the universe. You don't just speak with language, you speak with vibration, and vibration cannot lie. You may tell yourself you are abundant, but if your energy is scarcity, the mirror will show scarcity. You may tell yourself you are peaceful, but if your energy is conflict, the mirror will reflect conflict. So the question is not, what do I want? The question is, who am I being? Every morning, every choice, every breath answers that question. And that answer shapes your reality. The beauty is, you don't have to force the universe. You don't have to chase. You only have to align. When you align, life moves in your direction naturally. Imagine this. Abundance is a frequency, like a radio station. If you're tuned to static, you cannot hear the music, no matter how much you want it. But when you turn the dial, when you align your energy, suddenly the music is clear, flowing, undeniable. That is what alignment feels like. This is why self-discipline is not punishment, why silence is not emptiness, why gratitude is not a ritual. They are tools that tune your frequency. They shift you from static to music, from chaos to clarity, from wanting to being. The universe is always responding, always mirroring, always reflecting who you are right now. So stop asking, why am I not receiving what I want? And start asking, who am I showing up as? Are you showing up as someone stuck in yesterday's noise? Or as someone awake to today's clarity? Are you showing up as someone waiting to be saved? Or as someone already aligned with freedom? Are you showing up as someone who reacts or someone who responds? These are not small distinctions. They are everything. Because in the end, life doesn't reward desire. It rewards alignment. And alignment is a choice you make daily, especially in the quiet moments before the world takes over your mind. Most people live their entire lives trying to fix everything outside of them. They believe that if circumstances change, if other people behave differently, if the world finally becomes easier, then they will feel peace. But this illusion keeps them trapped in endless conflict. They don't realize that what they see outside is only a reflection of their inner state. The arguments they notice, the problems they focus on, the chaos they keep finding. It all begins within. The world mirrors your vibration. This is why stillness is so powerful. It is not just quiet for the sake of rest. It is alignment. It is the reset of your inner lens so you can finally see clearly. When you allow yourself to sit in stillness, you stop demanding that life rearrange itself for you. Instead, you arrange your inner state. And once you shift within, the world begins to mirror that clarity. The old self resists this. It thrives on distraction. It wants constant noise, stimulation, and movement because silence reveals truth, and truth requires change. But change cannot happen if you are always running from yourself. The new self embraces stillness because it knows that silence is not emptiness. Silence is where everything begins. Sit in silence each morning, even for a few minutes. Feel your breath. Notice the energy in your body. Allow the thoughts to come and go without chasing them. In this simple act, you are reorganizing your entire being. You are creating the space where abundance can enter. When you begin with silence, your actions are no longer random or reactive. They become intentional. They carry weight. They are aligned with who you are becoming, not who you used to be. And when your actions carry alignment, the results begin to shift. Opportunities arise. Conversations change. People feel something different in your presence. Not because you're trying to prove anything, but because your vibration speaks louder than your words. Stillness is also where healing begins. The emotions you have avoided, the pain you have hidden, the thoughts you have tried to suppress, they surface in silence. At first, this feels uncomfortable, but the discomfort is not a punishment. It is a message. When you listen, the energy releases. When you face it, it dissolves. This is why silence transforms you, not because it adds something new, but because it removes the layers of noise that were hiding your essence. What remains is clarity. What remains is truth. And from truth, abundance flows naturally. Most people think they need to control life, but control is resistance. Stillness teaches you to release control and to trust. When you are rooted in awareness, You don't need to predict or force outcomes. You simply align. And alignment is stronger than control. The old self fights the current, exhausting itself. The new self surrenders to it and moves effortlessly. This is not weakness. This is wisdom. So tomorrow morning, before you let noise claim your mind, claim silence for yourself. Let stillness be the first presence you feel. Let it cleanse your lens. Let it organize your energy. This is why self-discipline is not punishment, why silence is not emptiness, why gratitude is not a ritual. They are tools that tune your frequency. They shift you from static to music, from chaos to clarity, from wanting to being. Transformation does not come all at once. It comes daily, quietly, in the way you wake up, in the way you breathe, in the way you choose to meet yourself before you meet the world. Every morning, you are given the same invitation: to delete the self you no longer need and to step into the one you are becoming. To let go of the noise, the resistance, the illusions of control, and to align with presence, clarity, and abundance. The old self survives by repetition. It wakes and reacts. It clings and resists. It repeats stories that keep you small. But the new self is born in renewal. It wakes and observes. It releases and aligns. It responds with clarity. It trusts the flow of life. This is not a one-time choice. It is a practice. Each sunrise is another chance to begin again, to sit in silence, to breathe, to notice, to release, to step forward as the most awake version of yourself. Abundance is not something you chase. It is something you align with. And alignment happens when you stop fighting the current of life and allow yourself to flow with it. You don't need to predict the future. You don't need to erase the past. You only need to arrive in the present with awareness. Because the present moment is the only place abundance lives. When you live this way, life reflects it back to you. You begin to notice beauty where you once saw burden. You begin to feel calm where you once felt chaos. You begin to attract opportunities, people, and experiences that match your energy. This is not magic. This is alignment. The universe always mirrors who you are, not who you wish to be someday. So ask yourself each morning, who am I choosing to be today? Am I repeating the old self, or am I stepping into the new? The more you choose renewal, the lighter life becomes. The more you choose awareness, the clearer the path becomes. The more you choose alignment, the more abundance flows naturally into your experience. Remember, you are not here to repeat days. You are here to recreate life, to die daily to your limits and rise daily into your truth. Imagine a river. You cannot control its flow. You cannot command its direction, but you can step into its current. That is what stillness does. It brings you into alignment with the natural flow of life. So don't just wake up, arrive, don't just live, align. And if these words resonated with you, if you feel the call to release the old self and rise into your highest potential, carry this message forward. Share it, reflect on it, and let it remind you daily that abundance begins within. If you found value here, let your presence be felt. Leave a comment, share your reflections, and connect with others walking this path. If this message helped you, allow it to help someone else by sharing it. And if you want to continue this journey together, subscribe and stay aligned with the flow of new insights. Because just like the morning, every connection is an invitation. And your energy, your presence, your voice, they matter. This is not the end. It is the beginning. Arrive into yourself. Align with abundance and let life meet you there.